Hello again and welcome back to Casanova Properties. We are going to talk about the third reason why we chose multifamily as our main strategy to invest in real estate. So that third reason is that it's actually easier to finance, especially properties that are 7 units and up. They're easier to finance. Now, it's important for me to note that I am not a mortgage broker. I'm talking from experience and as a general manager of a business. We always rely on the specialized licensed professionals for advice. And that's a piece of advice that I would also convey with all of you, any one of you who wants to venture in the real estate investing world. Well, first of all, I would recommend proper education and proper coaching if you can. But either way, regardless of how you want to do it, always seek advice from specialized professionals. And they should be professionals that are real estate investing savvy. So ideally, these specialists have investments themselves. These are the best professionals that you could seek. I would always recommend to seek a specialized mortgage broker who is real estate investor savvy, as well as lawyers, accountants, etc. But back to the topic of the fact that it's easier to finance, I'm going to try and keep it very simple for now, and then maybe sometime in the future we can dig further into it. But look back again at your home. In most countries that I know of, including North America, you can get a mortgage. So the bank will lend you a certain amount, usually about 80% of the value of the property, and you have to come up with about 20%. That's the general rule of thumb. So it gets financed. But in order for the bank to finance you, they need to look at your income, what you make on a yearly basis, and how stable it is. And it's all on your income. So now the beauty about apartment buildings, especially 7 units and up, is that the mortgage rules change a bit. Okay, and they're no longer looking at your income. They're looking at the performance of the building in itself. Of course, they will also look at you as the individual who's acquiring the property, but it's not based on your income. They may look at your experience and your net worth, but at the end of it all, they're looking at the performance of the building. Now, that's not the only reason why it's easier to finance. There's something called vendor takebacks. It's a common terminology within the real estate investing world, vendor takeback. In other words, it's very common in apartment buildings and in multifamily, very common for the seller to finance the acquisition of the property itself. So you may even sometimes see it on the listing in itself that the vendor is offering some form of vendor takeback. This can be very beneficial, especially at the beginning if you're planning to turn the building around, or if you want to ride through a certain wave within the market, whether it's a recession or a boom. It can become very helpful. Now, it can also be cheaper. Worldwide, we're familiar with the rise in interest rates, and usually the central bank of that country, in the case of Canada, it's the Bank of Canada, determines or sets the interest rate to combat market forces like, for example, inflation. And to combat inflation, they raise the interest rates, and that translates over to the interest rate that you're paying for your mortgage. But on commercial mortgages, and again, please seek advice from your mortgage specialist. I'm only providing value from my own experience. So on a commercial mortgage, which is the way that that I've learned the terminology of a mortgage, of anything that is 7 units and up, it doesn't go by the central bank, it goes by the bond market. So generally you're paying, or at least nowadays in the existing market conditions, we are at the end of 2023, it is cheaper to finance in terms of the interest rate that you have to pay. And that's not the only reason why it's easier to finance. Mortgages can be up to 50 years amortization, 50. So imagine the reduction in the monthly payments when you amortize for longer periods. There are special products within the commercial space that allow for these types of amortizations. So think about this. Remember, we're talking about, we have a certain amount of expenses, and within those expenses, when we do our calculations, mortgage is one of them. And anywhere where we can reduce expenses, we're going to rise our profits. And if you amortize for 40 or 50 years, not only are you paying cheaper interest rates, but you're also paying a per monthly amount that is lower. So you've lowered your expenses. And then there's the assumable mortgages. In other words, in some cases, some of these properties, I've run into them, some of these properties are actually paying a very low mortgage rate. I've found buildings paying less than 2% interest rate, and they don't expire for another 5 years, up to 10 years. Now, it's very costly to break these mortgages, so it's beneficial for the buyer to assume the mortgage in commercial mortgages. And so it's beneficial for both, for the seller and the buyer, because then the seller does not have to pay outrageous fees to break the mortgage, and the buyer is able to get that property at a very attractive interest rate. So that's the end of this reason why we chose multifamily as our strategy to invest in real estate. It's the third reason, and there are more reasons to come. So stay tuned, and I will talk to you again very soon. Bye for now.